Hello everyone. Let us now discuss today's LeetCode POTD problem. Zero array transformation 1. So we are given with an integer array nums of length n. So we are given with an array of length n and 2D array queries where queries of I is equal to li ri. That means a query will have li and ri. So there are many queries like in a 2D vector. For each queries I, select a subset of indices within the range LI, RI in nums. So if something like L is here and R is here, we need to select a subset from this and decrement the values at the selected indices by 1. So subset is nothing but we can select those indices which are nothing to be in a subsequence, not be, it is not made sure that it should be a contiguous. So it can be something like here if we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then a subset is nothing but 2, 3, 4. It can be a subset 3, 4, 1. It can be a subset 5, 4 is right. These are the subsets. And an empty subset is also a subset. Now, decrement the values at the selected indices by 1. Now, if I select this and this and this, then I will decrement the values by just 1. If I decrement the values, then I'll get 0, 2, and 4, and here 2, and then here 4. So I have only selected these three indices, and hypothetically, I have decremented their values by 1. Right now, a zero array is an array where all elements are equal to 0. Return true if it is possible to transform nums into a zero array after processing all the queries sequentially, otherwise false. All the queries sequentially. It is not said that we need to get to only such some number of queries in the queries array and then we will return false. No, not like that. We need to traverse all through the queries array and then we need to make sure that we are something like going and taking right this array into a nums array into zero array. As I said, zero array, wait a second, as I said, zero array is an array where all elements are 0. Now let us go with an example, right? So here we are given with 1 0 1 and the queries are 0 to 2. Now if I give the indices 0 1 2, right? Now let us see, we are having 0 to 2 and the element, right? Oh sorry, the elements in the array, so this is a subarray, so the elements are 1 0 1. Now when I want to make this array as a zero array, what elements should I pick? Should I pick -1 0 -2 like this kind of values? No, I would only select those values which are greater than 0, right? So the elements which are only greater than 0, those are the elements which I am going to pick. I'll pick this one, I'll pick this one. Now I have only one query 0 to 2, and if I decrement the values which are greater than 0, by 1, only by 1, then I would get, if I decrement it by 1, I would get 0. There is no decrementation here because I am not selecting it, so it would be 0, the same thing. Now if I decrement it by 1, then I would get 0. So this is a 0 subarray. So here I would return true. That's it. That's it for this question. We need to return true or false. Now let us see whether can we make this subarray into a zero array or not. Let us see. Right. Now if I give the indices 0, 1, 2 and then 3. Right. 1, 2, 3. So this is a subarray which we need to take, and from here we need to take subset. So here I am taking 3, 2, 1, 4. So we need to take from this subarray, right? From here to here we need to select some elements. Now we can select any number of elements. Now if I select this, this, and then this, then I would get and decrement it by just 1, it would become 0, it would become 1, it would become 2, and here I have 4. Now I again have 0 to 2, 0 to 2. So from here to here, right? So from here to here, right? From here to here. So if I decrement the values, I would get 3 and then 1 and then 0 and here 0. But after processing all the queries, also I didn't get a 0 array. What is a 0 array? 0 is array is an array which have all the elements are 0. But this is not a 0 and also this is not a 0. That's why we would return false in this case. But what will be the intuition for this question? What is the intuition, right? So what I want to do here is just take something like an array, like tree sum array, or something like you can also take like difference array, like tree sum array. What I want to do is here if I have 1 2 3 4 5 and we are having 0 to 0 to 2 as the queries, 0 1 2 3 4. Now I can decrement it by 1 every time. So if I do a brute force approach by taking all the queries and going to the elements, right, then it would take big O of n square time complexity, which is not good for this. For that, I would use a prefix sum approach. But why? Why? Because here we are asked for 1 to 3, right? 0 to 2 as the indices, and we need to decrement the values by 1. What is my approach is, what if we decrement every value, decrement every value, by 1, by 1, even if it is 0 and less than 0. What it would happen? Nothing will be happen. Why? Because if I have 1 2 3 4 5 and I got a query as 0 comma 0 0 comma 1 0 comma 2, what I'll do, what is my intuition is, for 0 comma 0 I would get only decrement the first index value and it would get 0. Now 2 3 4 5 as it is. Now this is completed. Now 0 to 1, this will be selected. Now here I would decrement it by 1. Here also every element is decremented by 1 and I would get this as my array. Now this is completed. 0 to 2 again. So from here to here, then I am decrementing every value by 1, then I would get minus 2 0 2 4 5. So when I get a minus value, what does that mean? It means it is already 0. It is already 0, right? That's what it means. So if an element is negative, that means we no need to select it, but we are selecting it and making it 0 for our convenience. But how can I solve this? By taking this 1 2 3 4 5. So 1 2 3 4 and then 5. So if I have 0 1 2 3 4 and if I have any something like, sorry, query as 0 to 2, then what I'll do? Here, I would take the sweep line algorithm. Why? If you have solved something like events problem, overlapping events problem, then it would be easy for you to understand this sweep line algorithm. What does this sweep line algorithm says? So if I have these queries, then I would start it here, right? Then I would start at here. I would change this color. So I would start here and end here. But if you see, if I decrement it by 1, if I increment here by 1, why? Why? Because if every element is 0, then I would say it like -1 here and 1 here, right? Everything will be 0, right? Okay. Now the elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But before processing them, and even I would go through every query and make the same thing again here. So what I am doing, for every query of queries, I would say L is equal to Q of 0, R is equal to Q of 1. I would say that pre-sum of L minus is equal to 1. Pre-sum of R plus is equal to 1. This is what the sweep line algorithm says. Now, I have queries like, wait a second. I have queries like 0 to 1, 0 to 0, 0 to 1, and 0 to 2. I have processed 0 to 2, and something like if I process uh, 0 to 1 and 0 to 0, I would say 0 to 1. I have 0 to 1. Then what I'll do? At L and then R plus 1. At L, I would decrement it by 1. At L, if I decrement it by 1, minus 2. At 1, right? This is index 1. So R plus 1, I would increment it by 1. Now, if I already have 0 comma 0 as the query. Now, 0 comma 0 is here. I would decrement it by 1, and R plus 1 is here, and I would increment it by 1. Now, as I said, here we would use a prefix sum algorithm. What it will be? So here I would use a pre-sum algorithm, but wait a second. Here the size will be n plus 1. Why? Because if I have a query like 3 to 4, then r plus 1 would be 5. That's why I would initialize an array of size n plus 1. Now I have -3, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. So here what I'll do is 1 minus 3. Minus 3 as it is 1 minus 3 minus 2. 1 minus 2 minus 1, 1 minus 1, 0, 0 plus 0, 0, 0 plus 0, again 0. So I would add this for our nums array, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 minus 3 would become minus 2, 2 minus 2 would become 0, 3 minus 1 would become 2, 4 minus 0 would become 4, 5 minus 0 would become 5. So this is the array which I got after processing the queries. If you doubt, let me check. Let me check. Minus 2, wait a second. Minus 2 here. Uh, minus 2, 0, 2, 4, 5. Minus 2, 0, 2, 4, 5. This is the benefit of using prefix sum algorithm. This is how you use prefix sum or something like sweep line algorithm. I think you got what is a sweep line algorithm for now. Now, after that, if it is less than 0 or equal to 0, we are okay with that. But if it is greater than 0, here I got greater than 0, then we would return false there itself. If I write the algorithm here, I'm writing the algorithm, right? So what I am doing first, let me initialize pre-sum of size n plus 1 comma 0. Now I have queries, right? So for auto q of queries, L is equal to q of 0, R is equal to q of 1. I have something like n plus 1 pre-sum, right? So pre-sum of L minus is equal to 1. Pre-sum of R plus 1 plus is equal to 1. That's what we did in queries for prefix sum. Now, uh, wait a second. After processing these queries, we need to do like a prefix sum, right? This is the sweep line algorithm. We need to do a prefix sum. So for that, for int I is equal to 1, I is less than n plus 1, I plus plus. So for that, pre-sum of I plus is equal to pre-sum of I minus 1. That's it. Now I would go from for int I is equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. If nums of I nums of I plus pre-sum of I is greater than 0, then we would return false there itself. So if this is not true, then we would return true at the last. So this is the whole algorithm for this question, and I have given the code link in the description. Go and check it. And sorry for this dirty handwriting. Thank you for watching this video. Do like, share and subscribe to this video. Thank you.